So Sound Mandala was born of an idea that Tom had in the early 2000s that there must be a way to move sound in patterns that we've never heard before, such as like straight lines, squares, and like circular spinning motions. So much like we hear in the real world, just out there in the world with our ears, with the acoustic world, sound is three-dimensional. We take it for granted, but we hear sounds all around us at all times, behind us, in front of us, and we get all of these cues of, oh, that thing is approaching me fast from behind, oh, that is above me, and we take it for granted. But we live in this perfectly beautiful and mysterious three-dimensional sonic world, yet the way that sound is produced and consumed is inherently only two dimensions. We have a left loudspeaker and we have a right loudspeaker. We have a left headphone and a right headphone, and with that we are hearing sound essentially flat, just two dimensions. We can add a sort of a third dimension with panning. We can pan a little bit to the left, we can pan a little bit to the right, and we can create motion from left to right using panning, and what we get is a phantom image in the center. But what Tom was trying to answer in the early 2000s was, can we create this spatial motion without using a phantom image and without sort of quote unquote faking it between from one speaker to another? Let's actually move sound as if it was propagating in the air. Let's move it from loudspeaker to loudspeaker to loudspeaker. Can we make that sound believable? There are some technical issues with that in the early 2000s, dealing with digital audio systems back then. So Tom shelved it. Then in 2015, Tom decided to revisit it, and that was I was a MFA grad student at that time. So we set up a short experiment, a quick experiment with 8 loudspeakers, and we took the sound of a cymbal crash, and we cut that cymbal crash up into different loudspeakers and played them in succession, and we were quite believably able to move that cymbal crash from the left speaker through each of the 8 loudspeakers, and it sounded like a smooth motion. So that got us excited. Let's actually set this up for real, and let's spend the whole summer investigating the believable motion of sound without using phantom images and actually moving sound from loudspeaker to loudspeaker. So we set up a 48 channel system at UMKC. We spent all summer long investigating this question of how well can we convince the ear that sound is moving through space naturally, like mimicking the real world. And we did it. We were able to make square sounds move in a square, which is not natural per se, but you can hear it. It's actually moving in a square, and it's kind of a trick of the ear. It's hard to believe that sound is moving in a square. Sound is moving in a diagonal, circling all around you. And it opened up this whole new paradigm for us of adding a spatial element to sound design, adding a spatial element to storytelling, and to music. Then from there, Tom and I were really excited about it, and so the two of us really dedicated our primary research energy into investigating sound motion. So we set up a number of different sound mandala configurations, some with just like a flat wall with many loudspeakers, and we're trying to create tiny geometrical shapes. Didn't work, tore it down, tried a different configuration, and eventually we came up with kind of what we see today, but just in miniature, of loudspeakers all around, but a higher proportion of loudspeakers in front, because the way that our hearing works, we hear better in the front. So at any rate, we spent 10 years investigating sonic motion, trying trying it in different formats such as music, storytelling, and pure sound design. We demoed this concept to many people in Kansas City, and now it takes us to where we are today. We're really quite facile with the techniques that we've developed over the years of editing in Pro Tools and chopping up the sounds and mixing immersively and creating convincing sonic motion. But what really excited me and really unlocked something brand new for me that I really believe is a new art form is a new paradigm in motion in music. Because in music we have these elements that make up what we call music: pitch, rhythm, chord progressions, harmonic structure, and form and meter, and all of these elements that all together makes up this thing that we call music. But with the sonic motion that I spent the last 10 years investigating, I've realized that motion can be just as inherent to music as pitch, as melody can be. So compositionally, as I'm writing a piece or as I'm mixing a piece in the Sound Mandala, my question is always, how does this sound want to move? What is it inherent to this sound that makes it just has a trajectory? It wants to go somewhere, and other sounds want to be stable and just exist in the same location, and then just by listening and by thinking compositionally, you can make choices about, okay, this melody, it rises and it stays flat for a while and then it goes down, and then does that mean that the motion kind of moves horizontally and up and down, or does it mean that it kind of goes back and forth? And and music theory falls into this, where I'm really interested in using geometry to elicit a better understanding of the music theory behind the piece. So a piece that's in 4/4 meter wise, I can make that meter obvious geometrically with a repeating pattern of 1 front, 2 right, 3 rear, 4 left, back to 1 is back to front. So there's a symmetry, geometric symmetry, that matches the symmetry in the meter of the piece, and it's just amazing, unlocking a whole entire new part of the art of music making, which is motion.
So when you hear stereo on steroids, is that the right description in your head?
Well, stereo on steroids makes perfect sense. It's sort of brilliant because it sounds just so memorable. Stereo on steroids, it's like, okay, in stereophonic sound we can do a lot. We can fake 3 dimensions pretty convincingly, and with EQ and delays, these time of arrival differences and these phase differences between the left loudspeaker and the right loudspeaker, we can kind of convincingly make the listener believe that things are right in the middle, not quite in the middle, moving from left to right. And then if you're wearing headphones, especially with EQ and phase, we can really make it kind of convincing that the sound is coming from like behind and in front, but it's all using math and panning algorithms and time of arrival differences and a lot of EQ, a lot of frequency shifting to make this the stereo field feel 3 dimensions. The stereo on steroids, what we've done is we've removed those techniques where we have to fake it, and it is in actuality behind you. It's in actuality moving from left to right, and it doesn't take a complicated panning algorithm or thinking perfectly about the phase alignment between these sounds. We just move the sound from from left to right to back to front to above you, and all of this, and it's just this beautiful, mysterious thing where the motion becomes the motion of the sound becomes like locked with the sound itself and baked in with the sound itself, and we've now created a perfectly realistic three-dimensional sound when all it takes is patience and determination and creativity in Pro Tools and the way that you mix it.
I was going to say, it can be really easy to get sucked into kind of the technical stuff of this, because it is very technical, but it's also artistic.
Yeah. It's very, very artistic because we have 100 loudspeakers in here. There's unlimited, it's pretty much limitless what we can do in here. And with anything that's limitless like that, you can do anything, and then most of what you do is just going to be like, well, why did you do that? So we have to come up with intelligent, thoughtful, artful decisions about why a certain sound moves in a certain direction in the space, and those are creative choices. So we have to deal with the technical stuff, and we have to set up the room in a very systematic way. But once it's set up, it's all just creative play. It's tedious and it takes a long time, but it's still just creative play. It's a sonic sandbox where we can build something, and it might take us an hour or 2 hours to build it, and if we don't like it, well, we'd have to tear it down and start over. But it's a sonic sandbox, and we are only limited by our own creativity and by our own patience in building up a certain effect, a certain pattern that we want to hear. Come up with the idea, build it. Do you like it? Let's keep it. Let's work on it. That now is a technique in our repertoire of techniques that we can duplicate.
And tell me the name of the new piece you have in Signal and Soul and the inspiration behind that.
Yes. So I wrote a new piece. So I'm originally a composer. I'm still a composer, but I wrote a piece specifically with the Sound Mandala in mind. So this piece that I wrote is called Inevitable Pull Like a Whirlwind, because I decided I wanted to write a piece specifically for the Sound Mandala, and I wanted to explore some sort of extra musical metaphor. Or I wanted to come up with a concept to explore, and then see if I could write a piece around that concept. So I wanted to explore a whirlwind pattern inside of the Sound Mandala with sound spinning around the audience, and I wanted to put the audience inside of a whirlwind. And what does that mean metaphorically? What does that mean physically about the motion and how I'm going to do it? And what does it mean musically? So what I came up with was a piece for clarinet and electronics and sound design. And I love the sound of the clarinet for this whirlwind piece, because the clarinet is a wind piece. So within the clarinet there's breath and there's wind in the sound of the clarinet. And so this piece sets up this pattern of a whirlwind spinning around the audience, and then from there a clarinet melody floats above it, literally above the audience in the loudspeakers on the ceiling, and then the melody of the clarinet is kind of haunting and beautiful, and then suddenly gets sucked down and it spins down and joins the whirlwind, and then literal whirlwind of wind and sound effects of wind spin, and then the whole thing dissolves, and then the loop comes back and we get put in a different whirlwind. And I'm exploring 3 different kinds of whirlwinds: a melodic whirlwind that's in the clarinet, a repetitive looping whirlwind, which is a harmonic thing that's moving in a pitch set that I've determined, and a literal whirlwind of wind sound effects. I wrote this piece with my colleague, Dr. Charles Dupre at the University of Evansville. It's a wonderful collaborative clarinetist who is totally up for the challenge, and we recorded all the parts, and I put it together, and then I came to Kansas City and mixed it in all 100 loudspeakers here, and I find it really quite beautiful and really quite convincing that that the audience is sitting inside of a whirlwind.
Awesome. In your vision for the future, where do you see this Sound Mandala going?
So Tom and I have been working on some version of Sound Mandala for over 10 years, and our goal has always been kind of twofold. One is just to create great sonic art and to create a new paradigm of sonic motion and moving sound that has never been done before. So we've achieved that. And we had an iteration in 2024, and we have an iteration now. The long-term goal of the Sound Mandala is to create a permanent installation in Kansas City that operates year-round and works on new sonic art pieces year-round, and opens shows with different conceptual pieces, different music pieces, album releases, and just a playground for sound designers and composers to work with this new paradigm of sonic motion. And with the setup that we have planned, we would have 200 loudspeakers in a space that we've worked on paper with an architect and everything. It's planned out, 200 loudspeakers. Everything is diagrammed out, where we would be using all matching loudspeakers. And the point that I'm really getting at is there is no other space like that in the world, literally. So we would be creating a new art form of sonic motion that is inherent to the art form itself, that motion becomes part of the conception, the entire whole conception of it. And Kansas City would then be the destination for the greatest, Kansas City would be the destination for the greatest immersive audio installation in the world. That's maybe a lofty goal, but I believe with enough support from our fellow Kansas Cityans, we can make it happen.
There's also talk about maybe how it could be used for like in museums or other things. Is that somewhere where you could see this going?
Yeah, the paradigm of the Sound Mandala will work kind of in many different configurations. So that one configuration might be a 60 channel loudspeaker setup inside of the Nelson Atkins Museum. That would be phenomenal, and it could be an exploration of something to do with some of the art inside of the Nelson Atkins. The idea is that the loudspeaker configuration, with that we can do anything. We're only limited by our creativity, so we could take an extra musical extra musical meaning it's beyond music. We could take a metaphor of anything. We could say, what does a Degas painting sound like? Okay, let's build a Sound Mandala and just try and paint sound. And okay, this is the metaphor is a Degas painting, for example. There is a lot of interest in sonic motion in meditation. Totally untapped experiential and research topic that absolutely we need to explore, given just more time, and it's just a necessity to explore the effects on meditation and on who knows. smaller configurations, like I just did an art installation in Brooklyn, in Greenpoint in Brooklyn, and it was a fairly small art gallery, but they focus on sort of new ideas, avant-garde ideas, and that would be a perfect location for something that we could call a mini mandala. Let's set up 20 loudspeakers in a smaller confined space, and we'll think in smaller forms, like not huge pieces of music that are very loud and dramatic. Maybe we think in smaller form, because again, the loudspeaker configuration will work in many different iterations. The only limiting factor is your creativity and the quality of your ideas behind it. So we can have these mini mandalas all across the country. It would be a beautiful thing.